Hi guys, so I've started my trek. The entry to the trek starts from a place where you have to come by a jeep. Jeep takes about 45 minutes. The whole road is pretty worn out. The cost of the jeep is 1200 bucks. It's better if you come in a large group of 7, so that the cost of the jeep gets split up. You also have to bring your guide along with you in the jeep. Jeeps like that, they get you all the way up to the trek start point. The guide does not have to pay the jeep cost, so it gets split into the number of members that are going for the trek. So guys, right off the beginning, there is a pretty steep climb, about 45 to 50 degree inclination. I can't wait to see how much harder this trek gets. I've been told there are some very steep places where the climb can go up to about 60 to 70 degrees. So let's see what this trek has in store for us. Also some amazing views from here. After walking for about half a kilometer from the jeep endpoint, you get a forest office where they check for plastics and other relevant information is given out. So as you can see, the terrain here, it's pretty beat up and it's just all gravels and small rocks. This is what we'd be negotiating for the initial few kilometers. So after a few meters of the dry trek, we have come out to this path where there is thick vegetation and there's a small waterfall which is coming up in the front. So if you were doing this trek in the monsoon time, you would find much more water here. Right now it's just a trickle of stream. So this is the second stream that I've come across while trekking. Obviously not so much water right now as would be in the monsoons, so it's not much of a challenge to really cross this. So guys, right now we are at 3 kilometers from the starting point. He's my buddy Abhishek Sadegaonkar, whom I'm trekking with. This is Nihal, who is our guide for today. So guys, the peak that you see at the very far end of the video is the Kudremukh peak. That's where we are heading, and from here that top of the peak looks like the head of a horse, so that's why it's called Kudremukh, which translates into horse face. So guys, now you can see the peak pretty clearly. That's it right there at the very far end. We are 2.5 kilometers into the trek. The nearest checkpoint is Ontimara 1, which is 2.5 kilometers more. The path has become much clearer and much flatter now. It's not as steep as the initial few meters. There's a constant rattling sound of a waterfall somewhere close by. So through the initial part of the trek, you will find multiple streams which has drinkable water, and these streams stay alive even during summertime. So water is not a problem. So as you can see, this sign is telling us that we have reached Huli Guda. So Huli Guda translates into Tiger Hill, and the 6 kilometer is telling us that 6 kilometers trek is left to the Kudremukh peak. We are 5 kilometers away from the peak. So from this point on, the trek gets really difficult, as you can see from the sheer slope of the climb, and the terrain too is a mix of loose rocks and sand, which makes the climb even more difficult. And imagine doing all of this at the peak time when the sun is right above your head. I'm gonna need both my hands from here. The crowd has increased over the day, so now there are many more people on the trek. As you can see, the people at the very far end of the hill, the trek gets really steep from there, a near 60-70 degree climb. So now we are entering the hard phase of the trek. The time up to the peak over there is 1.5 hours. There's 4 more kilometers to go until the peak. So guys, now we have entered the last stretch of the trekking. The Kudremukh peak is not very far now. Trail is relatively flatter. There's a huge patch of clouds coming towards the peak, which is going to make the whole atmosphere pretty amazing. The view from here is pretty breathtaking. As you can see, you have a 360-degree bird's eye view to all the peaks in and around Kudremukh. So guys, finally I'm at the peak, and right now there's not much cloud cover here, although the clouds are uh, passing by. It's 12:30 now. We have time till 1. So in this half an hour we're gonna sit down, have our food, and then get going uh, in the downward journey. So right now the clouds are passing by this peak, and the visibility has reduced a lot, so you cannot see anywhere uh, close to yourself. You cannot see the other peaks here, other hills. It's absolutely amazing, the feeling that you're on top of these clouds. We rested for some time, had a lunch, uh, talked about how the ascent was with a few folks, and now back up energized to start the descent. So it's around 1:30 now, and the descent is about 3.5 hours to 4 hours from here. The descent goes along the same way as the ascent, so you can expect the same sort of views and stuff that you saw while coming up. You have to reach the gate by 6 o'clock sharp, so you better plan your descent accordingly, because it takes 4 hours to descend. So you have to leave at any cost from here by 2. Any further delay after 6 could invite penalties from the forest department. Now another interesting place to visit near the Kudremukh peak is an old British era church. So right where you see the 1 kilometer mark, there comes a right turn which takes you on a downward slope towards the church, and sometimes your guides will take you to the church, but many of the times they may not. So just be aware about this place, and it's certainly worth visiting. So guys, this is one spot that I missed at the time of coming, which is quite a significant spot because it marks the halfway completion of the trek. It's called Ontimara, which translates to lone tree, and you see this board which marks that you have that you are at Ontimara. These are some of the animals that you can expect to see, although we weren't lucky to find any. And this is also a place where you can sit under the shade of the tree and relax for some time. From Ontimara, the Kudremukh peak is visible very clearly, as you can see, and the view is absolutely beautiful. Ontimara, Ontinai. तो वाटरफॉल नहीं हो पाएगा क्या? अरे So that house is the forest checkpost where we had initially come to check our luggage and to take permission to climb up this trek. So we are back at the forest checkpost and our trek ends here. and we are done.